So let's get into that mitochondria.
Yes,
That's where the action is, man.
Yes, exactly. All right, go for it, Catherine.
So let me help you understand what mitochondria are. They're little they're called organelles, and they're in all of your cells, and they generate cellular energy. And what do I mean by that? This is the energy that you need for breathing, for walking, for talking, for sitting, for digesting, for sleeping. It's everything. So, so your body, you give your body food, and your mitochondria convert that food into something called ATP, which is the type of energy. So think of ATP as the equivalent of electricity in your house. And while we're on the topic of electricity, think of your body as a big skyscraper, okay? And in the skyscraper are offices. Think of those offices as your cells, because there's things that go on in each of those offices, just like in each of your cells, there are activities. Now, the thing that keeps the offices active are lights. You can't work in the dark. And in your cells, the thing that keeps things active are your mitochondria. So when you're first born, your building is brand new. The offices are clean. You got lots of lights. Everything is working. But as the building gets older and the maintenance people start leaving and there's fewer activities in the offices, when the lights start going out, nobody replaces them. And as you get older, you have fewer lights, fewer mitochondria, or the lights are damaged. They're not showing as much light. It gets harder and harder and harder for you to live or to function or to be healthy. That's because your mitochondria, the lights in your building, have gone off. I'm going to show you how to turn those lights back on, and it's actually quite simple. And it requires you to protect your mitochondria from free radical damage and to build more mitochondria. So how do we do that? Well, let me explain to you what's going on in your cells first. Here's your cell, okay? And in your cell, you have your nucleus. There's 25,000 of these. This is your DNA. And you have these little peanut-shaped things called mitochondria. This is where your ATP is produced. So let's take a closer look at that mitochondria. Inside is where the ATP is produced. But what people don't tell you very often is that when you create ATP, there's a byproduct. It's called free radicals. Think of free radicals as sparks. And if you've ever sat near a bonfire or a fireplace and you got too close, you would get hit with sparks, right? And they can burn you. Well, your mitochondria DNA, you have your regular DNA, but your mitochondria have their own DNA. The DNA is located exactly where the ATP is produced, which is exactly where the free radicals are produced. So your mitochondria DNA are literally getting burnt every nanosecond. Now, it turns out that your mitochondria DNA, there's only 37 of them, control everything. They control your regular DNA. They control the communication on your cell walls. So think of your mitochondria DNA like air controllers at an airport. The air controllers control everything. The planes coming in, planes going out. And if they're sick or damaged, your planes would crash. Well, when your mitochondria DNA are sick, your health crashes. It's just that simple. So we need to find a way to protect your mitochondria DNA from stop the free radical damage. Because when you eat, and when you breathe, there's just free radical damage all the time. So there's two ways to stop the free radical damage. First one costs you nothing. Here's what's happening. When you eat carbs, sugar, especially white processed carbs of any kind, massive amounts of free radicals. So that is huge in terms of damaging your mitochondria. It does terrible things too, like increases inflammation and increases your insulin spikes. Now, when you go on a keto diet, which has virtually no carbs or very few carbs, there are fewer free radicals being produced, and that costs you nothing. Nothing. You can save half of your mitochondria just by that. But an even better thing is fasting, either intermittent fasting or long-term fasting, and algae, because both of these have virtually zero free radicals. Now, fasting costs you nothing. Algae is not free, but it's very efficient nutrition, so you get your money's worth. But that right there is 50% of the battle. Reducing your carb load because it's so damaging for your mitochondria. So that's number one. Number two, what you need to do is find a way to remove the free radicals. So even if you didn't change your diet, we still have to find a way to get rid of the free radicals. Now, here's the problem. We all know about antioxidants, blueberries, and those are traditional for removing free radicals. Now, maybe I'll step back and explain what a free radical is. It's an atom that has inside you have protons in your atom, and you have electrons on the outside. Now, normally there's an equal number of electrons, and that stabilizes the atom. But through free radical damage, one of those electrons gets stolen, and so now that it becomes a free radical, and now it steals another atom from another molecule, and then another one, and another one. So it causes free radicals damage your tissue. Think of it as rusting from the inside. If you've ever seen a boat or a car that's been abandoned out in the country, and there's big rusty holes, that's oxidation. That's oxygen that's causing the damage. It's oxidative stress. Free radicals cause oxidative stress. Think of your body rusting from the inside. All of those free radicals here, rusting. You are rusting from the inside. Now, because if you get the visual of what's going on, it will help you understand how to stop it. So normally, antioxidants would stop the free radical damage, because what they do is they donate an extra electron and stabilize. So
right.
It's like having a hyperactive child that wants an extra dessert, and you give them the extra dessert or whatever, and then now they're calm. So when you give them the electron, they calm down. But the problem is, none of those antioxidants can get into the mitochondria to stop the free radical damage. And here's why. All of our cells, remember I said earlier, they're made of lipids, they're made of fats. And those fats allow proteins and antioxidants in and out, because they have these things, they're called porins. They're little channels that allow things in and out. So there is that around the mitochondria. But your mitochondria have a second inner membrane that is impenetrable. There are no antioxidants that can get in there. So you could eat a room full of blueberries and not a drop will make their way into this inner membrane, other than 4. There are 4 antioxidants that can get into that inner membrane and stop the free radical damage. And what are they? Glutathione, melatonin, superoxide dismutase, and chlorophyll. Those 4 antioxidants are the only ones that can get into your inner membrane of your mitochondria to stop free radical damage. Now, the good news is your body makes glutathione, melatonin, superoxide dismutase, and mitochondria. And you have them when you're born. And you're having, when you're 10, 20, 30, lots of energy. This is why, because your mitochondria are constantly being protected from free radical damage. That's why teenagers can stay out till 3 and then get up at 5, although they never would, and do it all again. But but all those of us that are not 30 any longer, we can't. And here's why: because you do not have the protection any longer that we all had when we were young.
Right.
And so instead, all those antioxidants are decreasing and your inflammation is increasing. And the problem is glutathione, melatonin, superoxide dismutase, and chlorophyll are not available in food. They just don't they're in such minuscule amounts that it's impossible. So now your body's not making them and you aren't getting them from food. And they even found that if in supplements, it all gets damaged in digestion. And here's why you need them. All of those nutrients, I talk about superoxide dismutase, but all of those antioxidants, they literally put out the fire of the free radicals. Again, think of those free radicals as sparks flying out from a fire. It happens because you're generating ATP. But you can generate ATP and put out the fire so that your mitochondria DNA aren't damaged. And here's the exciting thing. Algae has all 4 antioxidants so that you can stop that downward spiral and flatline your inflammation. You can get all of the antioxidants in there to stop the damage instantly.